Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For, I don't know, a few months ago we sent out some requests for questions on our YouTube channel and also in our Patreon channel and said, hey, if there are specific questions you guys have, throw them at us and we'll answer them. Now I need to distinguish what we're posting here today on YouTube. We can only post general answers to general questions here. We can't get into specific people's technicalities or their particular situations. So we have a tendency to do that more on Patreon, where we can talk to people one-on-one or in small groups, and then we can talk directly about your particular situation. Now, some people don't mind their situations being discussed in public or on YouTube, and as long as that's okay with you, I'm sure that's going to happen on occasion when people have particularly interesting problems. But generally speaking, we're going to keep these questions general and the answers general. At the risk of repeating myself, you are welcome to join us at the Patreon group and we can talk about your questions and answers directly. Having said that, let's begin.
All right. Okay, guys, we're going to start out in this episode with some Patreon member questions. These were taken directly off of the video that was posted on the Patreon site several months ago. So let's start with Alexander. Hi, Alexander.
Hello, Alexander.
What do you think our outlook is on attaining German or EU citizenship? Funny you should ask.
Yeah. May I?
Certainly. The floor is yours.
The timing of that question is almost hilarious because 2 days ago, which would have been Friday for us from the day of filming, the German government approved a new law that will go into effect in April of 2024. It overhauls the German citizenship procedure and laws and requirements. It used to be that somebody had to be living in Germany and contributing to the economy, i.e. gainfully employed, for a minimum of 7 years and have a certain language level. They should have reached that language level. I don't remember what it was. It was either B2 or C1.
B2, I believe it is.
I'm going to say it was B2 also. But it's completely irrelevant beside the point now because that law has changed. Mm-hmm. The new law says that if you have lived continuously in Germany and been employed during that time for 5 years and have reached a B1 language level and have passed an immigration test, which is pretty darn easy. I've looked at the questions. They're available online. They are crazy easy. And you have not committed a crime against the Constitution or against democracy, then you can apply for citizenship. Now, there is a shorter version that is for 3 years if you reach a C1 level of language, but I'm talking from personal experience. C1 in 3 years, that's going to take some seriously hard work.
From nothing.
From zero.
Yeah, from
it would
scratch.
take absolutely nothing.
That's not going to be easy.
And you have to have some kind of very advanced degree, master's or doctorate degree in some kind of specialized fields. So for the great majority of us, that's not going to apply. So the majority of us are looking at 5 years, B1 language level, passing a test, and not committing crimes against democracy or human rights.
Don't try to overthrow the government when you get here.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. Jumping over the January 6th jokes.
Yeah, no insurrection.
Yes. Some of you are going to ask specifically, well, what about general convictions? And Justin and I have actually been joking about this behind the scenes about what is a common crime or a regular crime or a run-of-the-mill crime. Well, it's anything that doesn't try to overthrow the government or democracy. So I will tell you, just as a quick aside, that I have already begun the citizenship process myself. I just began it on Friday. And there is one document that has to be filled out where it asked me about my criminal history. And it says right in there, just don't lie about it. Just tell us the truth. And we emphasize that in more than one video. Please, when you answer these questions, always tell the truth. The truth can only help you. Mm-hmm. The only people we've seen have problems here in Germany so far, the ones who've been denied citizenship, well, I don't know anybody who's been denied citizenship yet, but anybody who's been denied residence or employment is because they lied. And trust me, I can give you more than a handful of examples. But to answer your question directly, there is an excellent chance for citizenship here in Germany. As for other nations, I'm beginning to look into that for other people, but I don't have definite answers for that yet. So if you're interested in citizenship in the Netherlands or Norway or definitely not Denmark or Poland or something, shoot me a line on Patreon and we'll look into it directly on that particular. Did I over-answer?
No, okay. Not at all. There is no such thing.
Okay, thank you, Alexander.
Yes, thank you, Alex. That was a pretty good question and very relevant. The next group of questions comes from, I think we tried to figure this out if it's Cezanne or John, because it might be Czech.
That could be Czech.
If it's CZ. So we'll just say CZAHN. You know who you are.
Or Cezanne. What if it's a guy named Charlie with big teeth?
Sean. I don't know.
Don't either.
First question. Do you know or can you find out how the new ETIAS requirement will affect us entering and or traveling throughout Europe? Well, I don't know if we answered this one on another video.
It's tough to answer.
Yeah. Do you know, can you find out how they will affect us? We can't find out how it's going to affect anybody until it goes into service. And that's not going to be until the middle of next year. Yeah, so we have no idea specifically who or how much it's going to affect. But we can say they are not interested in any crimes over 10 years old.
Correct.
That is actually written into the law.
Correct.
So any crime over 10 years old they're not going to look at unless it's a very, very serious crime, which again goes back to things like terrorism or like trying to overthrow the government, stuff like that. But most crimes are not going to be looked at. If it's less than 10 years old, they're going to scrutinize it. There's a chance some people will be denied the first go around. Most people will probably be okay. But if you are denied, if your application is denied, then you can appeal it to the host country, whoever is doing your paperwork, and you can actually have a human being examine your application and ask you for supporting documents, probably your criminal record, court documents, anything that can help to mitigate it to get an approval. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. And really, that's all it's going to affect. You might get denied the first time, and there is a probability that a lot of people watching this might have difficulty the first time going through. But I think in general, most people will be okay.
And one of the reasons we're saying that it's difficult for us to tell you how it's going to work when it goes into effect is they've postponed this thing like 5 times already.
Yeah.
And it's an open joke over here as to when they're going to implement it, if ever. But if I can draw a parallel, I'm in complete agreement with Justin. What I'm reading in this says that if it's older than 10, they don't care. They're not interested in the details, no problem. If it's under 10, and this is based on conversations we've had with the lawyer who's working with us, if it is nonviolent, you're still probably going to be just perfectly fine. And Justin is also correct. I want to reaffirm that if the system were to deny you, you have the ability to appeal it to a human being and talk directly to a human being. But the parallel I would draw are the people who are coming into Germany, through the airports because they are on the international Megan's law and their red notices are being issued to the German government. The first 2 or 3 people who came into Germany, and I was there with them in the airport when they arrived, they were stopped by the police and questioned because the police didn't know what the heck this international Megan's law notice was about. Now here we are, I don't even know how many people have come into Europe, and I can only name one person that was rejected, and that was really bizarre. That guy was never going to get in.
And it was his own doing.
It was absolutely 100% his own doing, and it was bizarre. Other than that, the policemen aren't stopping people anymore. I can't even name the last person that was stopped by the police coming in because now the Germans know and they just don't care. So by and large, I think everybody's going to be fine.
So, but we'll wait and see. And if you can get here before mid 2025, then you don't even have to worry about it. But if your plans go beyond that, maybe you can't come for another 3, 4, 5 years. Just be prepared. That's all. Be prepared. Start learning German while you have the time. Number 1. Okay, second question. How else can we live in Germany or other Schengen countries besides, getting a work visa? If we have the means and income to retire there, can we move to Germany or other Schengen countries on other types of visas and become residents? Well, retire? No, not here. Because Germany doesn't offer a retirement visa. But you can come here on something other than a work visa. You can get a student visa if you'd really like. It's not a cheap way to do things. You will have to spend a lot of money because you have to have a lot of money up front. And while you're here, you have to go to school. I mean, you can't just come and stay. You have to attend school regularly. You have to pass. And you can't work a lot. You can only work a small job, a few hours per month, which certainly would not be enough to live off of.
No.
I mean, it might be enough to, pay for your internet, your cell phone,
More than that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to pay your rent and groceries and everything off of it. But you will be able to get by. The point is you're supposed to have money already when you get here if you do a student visa. So that's one option. The other option, other than working, is you could get a medical visa.
You're not going to get one out of the U.S. You're not going to get one.
Yeah, you're probably not likely to get one, but that one's there. As far as retiring, you would have to look at other countries, places like Portugal and
Mediterranean countries.
yeah, I think
countries.
Italy has one. Greece might have one.
Central and Northern Europe are not interested in you coming and retiring there. They have more than enough retired people already.
Yeah. There's also other countries in Southeast Asia that offer the ability for retirement, but that's another video by itself.
Speaking of the student, he mentioned the student visa, and that is a good way for a lot of people to get in. But what you have to do is you have to have a certain amount of money. How much is it?
About 20,000 euros.
Okay. 20,000 euro that you put into an account that is controlled by the bank. And the bank issues you a certain amount of money each month out of that account back to make sure that your expenses will be covered during your stay here. While you're here, you can work, but you can only work a maximum of 80 hours per month or 20 hours per week. In my company, I've hired, I'd say about a third of my workforce are students out of the university, and they're tapped out at 80. And then another visa that's up for consideration, you have the entrepreneurial visa and also the artist visa.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about the artist visa. But that is there. So if you are an artiste, you can... We've already seen somebody come here and get one good for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. Which is the maximum is 3 years for a temp permit. And yeah. So
He was in Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be a local visa. I don't know if they do that outside of Berlin, but...
Yeah, because Berlin's very artsy.
Yeah, we do know for sure Berlin...
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, good question.
Thank you for the question, John. Cezanne.
Yeah. Okay, and now for the last question from Cezanne, John. Is one city better than another as far as flying into Germany and getting questioned or not getting questioned when we arrive?
I'm going to jump in on that one.
Certainly.
There really are only two airports that you're going to fly into Germany out of the U.S., and that's Frankfurt and that's Munich. I'm always confused about how to pronounce city names, so if I accidentally say it in German, it's because that's what I use during the week when I'm not making videos. But those are the two primary places you're going to fly into. They are already accustomed to people coming in on the International Megan's Law, and they really don't care. So no, there's no particular advantage to any particular airport. The only thing that I would say would be an advantage is if you could get a cheaper ticket to one than the other from wherever you're flying out of. I don't see any particular advantage to one over the other.
No, and you can come into the Schengen zone through other countries as well. You come in through Paris, you come in through Reykjavik, Iceland, you could come in through Denmark, Sweden.
Zurich.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And they're all going to be 50-50. You know, they're either going to stop you or they're not. Some places will because they're not sure. I wouldn't come in through Spain because Spain will probably turn you around if they get a notice on you just because they're so tired of getting notices on people. But, you know, Portugal, Iceland, Germany, France, Austria, Switzerland, they're fine. You can come in through any of those countries, and then you can travel domestically into Germany if you'd like. You don't have to fly direct.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a layover somewhere if you really, really want to. But no one's had any problems. Well,
Except the one.
yeah, the one guy had problems, but most people have no problems and will have no problems. You just be honest with the officers when they ask you the questions. Make sure you're prepared and you have a place to stay. You have a return plane ticket, refundable, of course, and health insurance. You know, as long as you have all those things, then you meet the requirements and you'll be totally fine.
Yeah. Generally speaking, as an American or a Canadian or a Brit or Australian, they're not paying much attention to you.
Wow. Exactly.
So thank you for joining us. And as we mentioned at the beginning, we can pretty much only give general answers to general questions as they stand right now. But if you have specific questions, you are welcome to contact us on Patreon or even join the Sunday meetings that we have that are open to, you know, any Patreon member. On Sundays, if I didn't just say Sunday. So until next time, thank you for joining us. There are absolutely more of these videos already in the pipe. They'll be coming your way shortly.
Take it easy, guys.
Ciao.